Hello and welcome to the complete course of Azure Machine Learning. In the last lecture, we have seen how to create a workspace and then we have seen how to create a compute resources. In this lecture, we'll see how can we submit our training code which we have trained it in a local machine to the Azure Machine Learning. So before we'll start, I'll just let you know that there would be, while doing a coding, there would be a lot of errors. And these errors, I'll be doing it with an intention that these errors will come to you also, right? So that you should know how to do the troubleshooting, right? So bear it with me, and in the subsequent lectures or in the subsequent, I will tell you how to solve such kind of an error if it happens to you. Okay, so let's begin it with. So before creating an experiment, we just need to see that how we can see how many compute targets is present. So what we can do it, because this is the workspace we have. So workspace dot compute target, right? So once it will execute, it will give you that your compute target is having a name demo cluster, wherein it is resides under the resource group analytics, right? So this is how you can also see that, okay, the location of your cluster is the East US2. So based on that, you can see and you can write a logic that if any of the cluster is present, then you can use that particular cluster. However, if you want to use whether do we what kind of a storage we have, data storage, right? So here, if you see from the front end, if you go to the data storage, so whenever we create a workspace, by default, two data storages been created. One is for a file and another one is a blob storage. How can we see it using a Python, right? So what we can do is we can just write ws.data storage. Okay, there's a typo. See, here you will see it in a JSON format wherein you can see there are two data storage present in this workspace. One is blob storage and another one is a file storage, right? Now, if I want to execute an experiment, right? So what happens is whatever execution you do it, you need to create an object of an experiment. So first we'll create a workspace, second we'll configure the cluster, and the third one is creating an experiment. So here we'll create an experiment, create an experiment. So here I'll create an object of experiment which we have already, if you see upward, we have already configured this, right? We have already imported this particular library. And here I'll just mention this experiment would be from this particular workspace and the name of an experiment. So I'll just give a name of an experiment as demo experiment, right? And then try to execute it. So here, if you'll see this, you can find out that there is an experiment which is linked to this particular workspace. However, if you'll see the same thing over here in experiment, you can find that this experiment is being created. So once I click on this demo experiment here, you can see there is nothing to execute, right? There is no running, no process in a completed state, nothing is in failed state because we have not executed yet. So what we need to do it, we need to first write a Python configuration file, right? So I'll just write Python config. I'll tell you why I'm writing this. So this is object I have already created. So source directory equals to right, and then script equals to train.py, and then compute target would be the name of the cluster. The name of the cluster we have over here is demo cluster, right? So I just copy from here and paste it here. I'll let you know what I have done it. So here, what I did it, the train file which I have executed, right? The last time when I've executed in a local machine, I need to create a Docker image file of this train file and place it into the Azure machine and tell the compiler or tell the Azure machine that where that train file is located it into a local machine. So here if you'll see it is located into the same folder, or you can mention the folder name in the source directory, the script of a name which you need to encapsulate in the form of Docker image and the compute target on which it will get executed, right? And once it would be done, you need to create and execute the statement. So what you need to do it, execution equals to, this is an experiment. Under this experiment object, I will call this script, this Python config, right? And this we need to give experiment.submit. Okay, so this will take a few 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll just try to execute it and I'll come back and try to explain you what it does it. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, I'm just pausing this video for 5-10 minutes. So here you can see that it has already executed it. So let's go to portal and see what happens. So in this experiment, you can see the latest run is 1. I'll just click on this experiment and see it is in a preparing stage. So during this preparing stage, you can also click here and see what's the latest state. So in this preparing stage, what it does it pulls the value, or it pulls the files whatever is required. It pulls the data set. We have a diabetes.csv. It pulls the code. It pulls the cluster, creating a cluster and managing most of the thing, and create a Docker file and then register it into an ACR and then try to execute. So it will take 5-10 minutes to execute it. So there are a status over here. First it will prepare, then it will go to the queue, then it will create a completed stage. Once it will complete, and if it get failed, it will show it as a failed status as well, right? So now from here we can see that it will queue, cancel, completed, or in a running stage. Okay. Okay, now you can see the status is changed from the others of which was preparing to queued. Now it comes to the queue, see whether the cluster is available or not. Once he'll occupy all the clusters, and then it will go to the running stage. Wow, now he is able to get a cluster and it is showing it in a running stage, right? So you can see that my query is executing it. And if you wanted to see a detail, you can go over here. It is showing in a running stage. You can go to output plus logs. And here there are a few logs which is being created. You can go and check what had happened it, right? So this is how you can also check at a runtime as well. However, we'll just look what is the current stage and then we'll work upon, right? Now you can see my status of this executions for this particular run is in a finalizing stage. So once it is finalizing, it is correlating all this data, and then it will tell the end status whether it is completed or failed. Oh, what happens? It got failed. But what is the reason behind the failure? How can we troubleshoot why it has failed? So we'll just go to this run ID and see Azure ML compute job failed. You cannot find the reason why it is failing. So what you need to do it, you just need to go to the output plus logs and click on the 70 driver log. Here you will find the error behind this failure, and it says that no module named sklearn. Wow, what is this? So now we need to understand. See, in a local environment, we have created the YML file, we have created an environment. However, when we have deployed our training code into an Azure, we have not created any environment on which my training job is executed. So before that, I just need to create an environment as well as in the my virtual machine in Azure in the cluster, and then I try to execute it. So in a next lecture, we will see how to create an environment into the Azure. Thank you.